So we're going to look at ones now that, let's say we're not given any angle. So we have the 90-degree ones, but we're not sure on any angle measures. So for this one up here, we're going to solve, let's say we want to know what angle x is. That's the one we want to know. Solve the angle measure. So we can still use our trig ratios here. So if we're looking at, for this angle here, this side would be the opposite side, and this side would be the hypotenuse. Because it's the longest side, it's opposite the right angle. So what uses opposite and hypotenuse? Sine, right? So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So the sine of angle x is going to be opposite over hypotenuse. So we're going to do this a little bit differently on our calculators. So what we're used to, we have our sine, cosine, and tangent button, right? So if you look above, each one has like a sign and then a little -1. So we can use these inverse buttons in order to solve for angle measures. So this is important. You use the regular button to solve for side lengths. You use the inverse, the -1, to solve for angles. So because here we're solving for an angle, what you need to do is you hit second sine, and then I'll put in 6 over 10. And you get 36, what is that? 36.86. So 38.869 approximately. So for an angle measure, we'll just round that out to, what is that? Oh, sorry, this was 36. We'll round that to about 37. Round it to 37 degrees. And so we solve for an angle measure. So let's try this one down here. Let's solve for x again. So if I'm trying to solve for angle x, I have this is my hypotenuse, opposite the right angle, the longest side. And then this side, which is right next to it, so that's adjacent. So what uses adjacent and hypotenuse? Right here. So we're going to use cosine. So I'm going to say the cosine of angle x equals adjacent over hypotenuse. So 15 over 20. So in our calculators, because we're solving for an angle measure, I'm going to hit second cosine to get my inverse, and then it's going to be 15 divided by 20. So 41.4 degrees. So we'll say x is 41.409. So we'll say that's approximately, we'll round down, 41 degrees. Okay, I want to do one more with you guys, just to show you the different ways it's going to be set up, because I realized the other one didn't do that. So let's take a look at this triangle. And I found that students have found this harder in the past, so we're going to go over it. So let's say we have this, and I want to know x. So this is my angle right here. So I don't have the opposite side, but this is the hypotenuse, and this is the adjacent side. So what uses hypotenuse and adjacent? Cosine right here. So I'm going to say the cosine of my angle, 25 degrees, equals adjacent over hypotenuse. So 10 over x. Now here's the thing. If x is in the bottom, before it's been in the top, right? So the opposite of dividing is just multiplying. Here we can't just multiply by x, because then we'll just move the x over here. The idea is to get the x by itself. If it's on the bottom, what you can do is you can just switch these and make it x equals 10 over the cosine of 25 degrees and plug that into your calculator. The logic behind that, so the math behind that, is if you did multiply each side by x, here you would have x times the cosine of 25 degrees equals 10, and then you still need to get x by itself, so you have to divide by the cosine of 25, and you're left with x equals 10 divided by the cosine of 25. And so what you did here, it's just what I showed you up here. It's just switching these numbers. You can only do that if x is on the bottom, okay? If it's on the top, you should be glad, because that's actually easier. that you can just multiply each side by the denominator. But let me get you an answer for this. So we're doing 10 divided by the cosine of 25, and we don't have to do our inverse because we're not solving for an angle measure. You only use the inverse when solving for an angle measure. So 10 divided by the cosine of, we get 11.3. 03, sorry. 11.03. Alright, so I know this trig can be hard at first, but once you get the ratios done, like once you know these, it's pretty simple. Feel free to email me questions, let me know what you think, or if you're having problems. Okay, good luck!